So we've just arrived here at Starplatz in Cologne City. I'm here with Manuel Koelman. We're going to be talking about the technology community in Cologne, recruitment in Cologne. We're going to be talking about loads of things. So hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Manuel Koelman. I'm the co-founder of PIRATE.Global. PIRATE.Global is most known for running the Pirate Summit, which is a big conference here in Cologne. And PIRATE.Global now does, we do event business, so we do our own events and we have an event agency. We do investments. We're actually currently setting up a fund for in the black startups. And we have also invested in a couple of companies that we help very directly. For example, Division 5, which is a nearshoring software development agency. Often on the client side, the client feels often not very comfortable with his fee structure. Yeah. So it's a little bit like, okay, what has he done?
Yeah.
Not much, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But if you do it in a modern way, I think you will have a huge advantage towards everybody else.
I think I agree with your point on scale. A human being is just not the most efficient tool. But a human being still has to be in between somewhere. So if you can build a tool where you can, 80% of my time is spent in tasks that I wish I could automate. I want to be only really having these conversations or having the phone calls where I'm kind of guiding things in the right line, or I'm evaluating how you feel, how you fit the culture, not searching for the hard skills. Yeah. But the hard skills is one part. So if you build a platform where you say, right, we've got 10,000 people that are PHP programmers and 5,000 of those are Symfony guys, and of those 5,000, 3,000 are also using React, then you've got you can definitely optimize what Recruiter does. But you still have to evaluate cultural fit, commute time, salary. What are they going to get the other benefits that mean to them? And what you'll get with a platform is what they want. With a human being, you'll get why they want what they want. And often, I've helped people get what they really wanted, but not how they thought they would get it. So, I don't know, remote working, for example, I need to work at home 3 days a week. Well, what if we just flex that out? What if we gave you commute time, whatever? They get other things. So, you can't replace a human being at the moment with those kind of softer, personable human elements of hiring people.
No, I totally agree.
You can definitely add to it.
I also don't think that the whole hiring process should be without humans.
Yeah.
I love the fact that there is human interaction, because you want to. It's not only about can you do the job, but will I like the environment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I think a lot can be put to who knows best, and that's the client side. Without having too much workload, but just working on that 20% that you also love to work at.
So you're saying it's not removing the recruiter, but moving the recruiter from perhaps the agency side and bringing them inside of a business. And
basically having more working on curating and selecting candidates, and not searching for them, not finding them, not doing the initial whatever formal steps they are, but just doing the crucial part, which is the selection. Part. But we can really dive into that later.
We should just scrap whatever we had planned and do this. I agree, but the problem I see, if I went internal, I would expect to be one of the best paid members of staff inside that business. If I'm replacing that agency element and taking on talent acquisition, onboarding,
it's all about the
strategy.
Market. It's all about the market. You will get most paid if you're the best, and if if they won't find anyone else. So it's like you can obviously say that, right? In the end, I'm very very calm with that. If you think you're worth it, then prove it, right?
I speak to a guy. I spoke to a guy in London who owns a recruitment product called Cube19. So it's an analytics product for agencies like me. And I said to him, I'll be honest, I am a bit nervous that Honeypot and all these guys, they're coming after us. Like one day, Like, am I going to have a career was my question. By the time I'm 50, I love recruitment, but am I going to be able to do it as an agent?
Yeah.
And his answer was like, don't be fucking stupid. Yes, because all of the businesses I used to recruit for, none of them would have hired me as like one of the most important people in their business. And until that happens, you're not going to have the control that you have as an agent. You're not going to have the benefits. Why would you leave the agency to there, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember all the reasons, but basically afterwards I was like, okay, I feel safe. I feel like I might have a career. But I think it will change.
I think I would have the counter argument to that, but I don't want to.
So
I don't want to ruin your. So what do we? I
don't know. What should we do? We came here to talk about technology community in Cologne. We came to talk about programmers and what you guys do. I think this is more fun. You know, the whole idea was I sit on a desk of Berlin recruiters.
Yeah.
And then I left working in Berlin and said I want to go and find something outside of Berlin. Ended up in Cologne. And the guys are...
So you are in Cologne right now, so you live here?
No, I'm here a lot, but I live in hotels. My daughter's 7 in school in the UK, so can't move my family. I could, but I'm not going to.
Why do you spend time in Cologne?
What, with my family?
Your family is in Cologne?
No, my family are in England. Yeah. That's why I stayed in England.
No, but why do you spend time here at all?
Because I think it's right. You know, dealing with people, human beings, business, and I think.
But you have clients here.
Yeah. Okay. Only here.
Only here.
Only here. Cologne, Düsseldorf, some in Bonn.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So
tell me about that.
I'll tell you how I got there. I came out of school, got a recruitment job because couldn't do anything else. Recruited in London, for like freelance contractors, and I was really, really bad at it. So then I decided I'll set up my own company in e-commerce. I was really, really bad at that as well. And then I thought, fuck, I need to go and do something. So I went back to recruitment at Darwin as like right, I need just some money, and then I'll go and do another business. And then that was 5 years ago, and I'm still here. So I recruited in Switzerland for 2 years. That was wicked, but Swiss people don't really listen to what you have to say. So I couldn't consult. Very difficult to consult with big Swiss businesses. So that was a bit frustrating.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then I, over a drunk conversation with my current boss about how unhappy I was, he kind of poached me from that team to go and do Ruby on Rails recruitment in Berlin, because that was a good idea. Didn't work out. And then they said, look, if you want to go and do something, go and find it, basically. So they unleashed the reins. I just went around talking to every business I could in Germany. There was more companies talking to me in Cologne than anywhere else. So I said, I think the demand is in Cologne for programmers. So I'll just recruit for whatever I can. Mostly, naturally had loads of agency clients, like web and marketing agencies. They were desperate for me, but the candidates I worked with were not desperate for them. Didn't want to work them, but there was definitely loads of JavaScript and PHP need. So then I cut my client base down and turned it into like startups and product-only businesses. And that's what I do now. So now I just connect people locally and internationally to tech startups for Node, Python, PHP, JavaScript, front end, some QA roles. And first time I came to Cologne, I was like, yeah, I like it. Kolsch, love it. Mm-hmm. Gaffel food, love it. Mm-hmm. I've got some good friends in the city here now. Mm-hmm. So stayed out here a bit socially for a few weekends, and it's been like 2 or 3 years now. So that's how I got here. Okay. Just absolutely accidental. But now...
What companies do you work for? So Justix?
Yeah, Justix, Cedo, we're going over to in a minute. Convidera, they are not... they're more of a consulting business. Mm-hmm. Affilicon, Cognigy AI.
Yeah.
I'm really trying hard to get in with Gridscale, but they don't need an agent. They're just so good at hiring people.
They are.
Yeah, like fully remote working. I think Oliver Tillman does like a wicked job at company culture. So
Giant Swarm, you mean?
Yeah.
Not Gridscale.
Yeah, sorry, Giant Swarm.
Gridscale is a different one.
Yeah, Giant Swarm. And then Gridscale, I've just not had any traction with them.
Yeah. Great company.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get in with those guys. Worked for Orcs Money for a bit in Düsseldorf. just a bit of a disconnect between what I felt their expectations were. I hope they don't listen to this. What I felt their expectations were and what their employment offering.
It's interesting that you live in the UK, but you have your target market here.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
It's fun. So I travel out here a lot. I'm here a lot, maybe 2 weeks every month. Not every month, actually, but that's what I aim for, 2 weeks every month. And I'll just stay and network. So I do a lot of the old school recruitment before there was computers.
Okay.
Let's go for a beer and gaffle and talk and get friendly, and then, who do you know, who's looking for a job, introduce me that way, and just networking rather than, I still do a lot of active sourcing, but a lot of networking, and just, that guy, I know this guy, like playing chess, just moving people around.
I think we're actually ruining your business here in Cologne. Yesterday we sent out 3 developer profiles.
Yeah.
To just say up for grabs, whoever wants them first.
Yeah.
We sent it, I think, to like 80 people, and it got around 40 replies.
Yeah.
Because they all want them. Like they were Python and Java developers.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. So
that's what
we
I
do
did.
this community kind of work here, and just like, okay, who needs developers here? Here you go.
Yeah.
But I don't want to ruin your business, of course.
That I think is that. So that's very similar to what I'm working towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to build a network of companies that all know each other and all know me. And then when someone comes, it's like, okay, well, let's work out really candidate led to begin with. What, as you as a person, what do you need out of your career? What salary do you need? All this stuff. And then I'll put together, like, instead of going and making 20 job applications, I've handpicked these 3 businesses for these 5 reasons. And you only have to speak to them, then you're going to find your job. So smaller.
So you are going to really I'm back to recruiting again.
Yeah.
So you really want to go on the candidate side, though you don't want to go the business side first. What is the need?
So definitely the demand is for the businesses, but for the more senior roles, because I also need to increase my margins for me to get to where I need to get to. Yeah. So that means moving away perhaps from more the developer roles, and so I've got a few CTO roles at the moment, and with those people, you have to really like nurture that relationship, and really kind of service them as a job seeker as well as the business. So at the moment, I'm very client led, but I'm trying to build my client base and build my relationships. So I have to be, because I think if I do a small number of really fucking good jobs for a small number of companies, then it will just naturally grow, and they'll be like, oh, you should, Jamie's good, you should call that guy, and then once that's there, I can become more candidate led. So I've
totally agree. Yeah.
Lots of business, and now, like, I have this chat with Eden and Mike all the time. They're like, oh, like, your board is looking good. I've got a board with my customers on and the roles. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we're after. Good product companies, So why are you stressed? Like, I don't have the people for the jobs at the moment, which is my job. My job is to find people. So when I'm short of candidates, I'm mega stressed. So I'm kind of ebbing and flowing through that. But the goal is in maybe 4 or 5 years to have a real solid brand with all the people in Cologne, probably Dusseldorf as well, but I'm going to start with Cologne, and then just like community-led network recruiting. We'll probably do more events rather than just here's a guy for you, here's a guy for you. So hopefully my work and the brand will keep me there. I'm very aware though that technology could like pull the carpet out from underneath me. If it does in a big way, I've got.
It will take time. And you'll have enough time to adapt.
Yeah.
The main problem is you are working with those companies that will be first to adapt technologies.
Yeah.
So you'll be much safer for a longer period of time if you would work with old school companies. Yeah. But they're not that much fun, and they're much harder to convince candidates to go to. Obviously.
Yeah. They also, they're just very stuck in their ways as well. So the companies that need me the most have often like the least appealing employment offering. They're not as flexible, they don't have the best salaries, and they kind of need someone else to come in and just be like, guys, the problem is not that the people are hard to find, the problem is you.
Yeah.
You're not sexy, you're not appealing, and they need someone else to just waken them up and then deliver and show it afterwards.
I totally see that. Do you also see in the candidates that they get more picky to really find a company of their choosing? So is it really, especially in the developer market, I would expect, is it really something where the developer or the candidate is actually choosing and not that much the business. So
yeah,
is that really super strong, or can you just, I mean, if you have, or let's put it the other way, would you ever take on a client even if he pays you more than the rest, where you know it's not really a great place to work?
If I'm in a really bad position where I have to because I need the invoices, then yeah, if I'm honest, I would. Yeah. So I've got a client like that at the moment. But we've had a real frank conversation that, look, you have problems. Yeah. There's not good stuff going on about you in the market. There's certain people in the team that are poisonous to the culture. You've got cultural problems, you've got attitude problems, you're not using good technology that's sexy. So this is going to be tough. We are working on a workforce problem here, not a recruiting problem. And so that then enables me to kind of improve things. Even if it's a shitty company now, it might not be forever. So if I have that conversation up front and they know, look, you suck really in the grand scheme of things, then I don't feel like I'm doing a terrible thing, because we're trying to put people into a business that knows it needs to improve, and the new people will be that improvement. If it's a business that is just like laborious, like treating people badly, bad salaries, crazy hours, then there's no point, because I'm not a magician. I can introduce someone to a business and then they'll learn this place sucks, and I won't fill the role anyway. So you have to cut your losses at some point. But there are so many of that.
And I totally agree. I think you have to try to avoid those. Yeah. Because they have been in the past. There have been when I still was in or near the recruiting business. There were opportunities. Where a company said, "Hey, I will pay you and interesting sums. Yeah. If you get me this and this role. Yeah. And if you're inexperienced, and we were back then, we also tried that, and it never worked out, because look at the business first. If I cannot convince a candidate, or if I'm not convinced that this is like a decent place to work, it doesn't have to be a great place. It's most likely candidates will also not be happy, and they'll just jump off last minute, stuff like that, when they find out more.
If you might get lucky in the short term with like one big invoice, but long term, those people that you introduce to that bad company, they'll burn you. Yeah. So if there's 10 people you introduce and they tell 10 of their friends, there's 100 people in the local market that will never use you. Yeah. So long term, when you're trying to build, you just can't do it. Yeah, totally agree. There are some businesses that are in a bad place at the moment, and I think are working out of it. Yeah. But Cologne's a real small place, so it's really fucking hard to get out of that rut, or those rumours, or those like, I won't go there, I heard that guy like threw a glass wall over this guy, or like just stuff that is not true, but just because it's such a small place,
Compare Cologne to Berlin in terms of startups here. How they talk to you, like what are their requirements, what are their expectations towards a service like yours, and startups from Cologne, and how are the entrepreneurs maybe different or not?
So we just talked to Tim Schumacher about this, and my perceptions, I kind of like tested them, like, am I right? And Tim was like, yeah, I would agree with what you're saying. So in Berlin, the startups are more volatile. The cultures are more volatile. The growth is faster. The guys that I sit on a desk with in Berlin, they hire people into businesses, and then they are far more often than me getting a phone call in 3 or 6 months' time saying, that guy just didn't work out, we fired him, so you owe us a refund, or can you help us find a replacement? I don't know what the numbers are, but significantly less of that. If I put someone into a startup in Cologne, I don't have that worry of like, oh my God, I think I'm going to get a call in 6 months. I don't think I can't spend that commission because I'm going to be giving that back. So I think the startups here are more reserved, a bit more stable. They seem, and without being rude to Berlin startups, they seem to be more business aware. So they're after profit, they're after something sustainable, something robust. Whereas from what I hear in Berlin and some of my experience was, let's grow, let's get investment, and then somewhere along the line we're going to make some money, maybe, or we'll sell, and then it doesn't happen. I don't want to say common sense, because Berlin businesses have a lot of common sense, but the feeling I get is Cologne businesses are more about business, real business, like profit, loss. But that's what I think. Do you think I'm right?
I think in general I would agree.
Yeah,
that's totally also the Pirate Summit message, right? I mean, this year's theme was in the black. So profitability. Nobody in the startup scene, like in the typical startup scene, talks about profitability. We are an entrepreneurship conference. I think for entrepreneurs, profitability is important.
Yeah.
For you as like your recruitment business, it's important as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually happy that you say that, because that gives me a feeling that we are on the right track, maybe, or I'm not the right track, but that we are onto something valuable.
Yeah.
Also, because I think when people build businesses, that profitability is important, and also an important topic, and it's not. People start calling them lifestyle businesses, and I find that really strange, because it's real businesses. That's people. I hope that in Cologne people get good or are good at making money and not just spending it.
Yeah.
Because spending it is a little bit easier than making money, right? And I think that making money is actually also a real skill that you have to develop early on.
Yeah.
And in that sense, and I totally think it's valuable that there's the whole unicorn culture and the VC, let's go for hyper growth, grow or die kind of thing. But in that sense, I'm quite happy that I'm here from the region. Yeah. Because I also I like boring, to be honest. Stable, right?
Sensible.
Yeah, maybe sensible. Yeah, but I just like it's real business. It's in it for the long term. And also with Pirate Summit, what we try to achieve is we try to not only celebrate the Fortune 500. Actually, a lot of others are doing that, and it's totally fine. But we love the Fortune 5 million, right? So the whole long tail of businesses. That's actually what we love, what we look at, and I'm totally fascinated by these founder stories that build up companies with 20, 30, 40 employees, and not
like a hockey stick.
Not how, like, when are you exiting? When are you hitting the next? I don't know. When will you be a unicorn? Kind of discussions. Yeah. I find them a little bit boring, to be honest.
Well, I think so. This is what I don't get. Cologne geographically is in a much better spot than Berlin.
Yep.
The infrastructure to get here is incredible. There's so many good things, like the attitudes, I think, long run are healthier when it comes to startups and investment. But something is holding Cologne back. Why is Cologne not considered on the same stage internationally as a London, a Singapore, a Berlin? There's so many good things happening. What is it?
It's definitely a cultural thing, I think. And
what does that mean, a culture thing?
Yeah, let me get into it. So Berlin was always like the poor, sexy but poor, or and so and I think that's something. If entrepreneurship is not in the DNA of the city, really, then poor but sexy is actually quite good breeding ground for entrepreneurship. I think. If there's not that much opportunity, you create opportunity. And I think Cologne has like a history of entrepreneurship, but with the generations, I think, so after war, etc. So now we are in a generation where actually things are quite comfortable. And why should I mean, it's super weird actually to start a startup. If you look at it from a risk perspective, and if you look at it from like a money making perspective, it's super hard. Very likely that you will fail, and most startups will also not be unicorns. So if you look at it that way, it's actually not something which is really smart to do. You better get into investment banking, consulting, or whatever. It's a much smarter career choice. And I think there was this study from, I think Atomico it was, where it said that actually we have in the Rhine-Ruhr area, or in this area, Cologne, Düsseldorf, I don't know exactly the size of the area, that there is the amount of developers is, I think, even highest in Europe. Mm-hmm. So the question is, where are all these developers? Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of talent. We have all these universities, also with Aachen, etc. So they're all here. The question is, what do they do? And I think it ties into this notion of, corporate is comfortable. Yeah. Right. They're a little bit. Maybe they're also a little bit. The people from Cologne, but I'm really, it's like a stereotype, or like I'm generalizing. Yeah. A little bit more relaxed. And maybe they also like to live life. If you have the work-life balance, whatever, then maybe they say, "Hey, all right, it's I'm actually Dutch, and the Dutch culture is also, there is a certain value to in Dutch we call it gezellig, also to be with each other and have a good time together." And this is Cologne is the only city in Germany where I find the same atmosphere. That's why, from a people perspective, it's actually quite. It's really a nice community. And there was actually also from Startup Genome, there was now a study about the region. The highest score, or one of the highest scores, was actually in people in the startup scene, people helping each other. And that's very much the culture from Cologne.
So like the startup success factor, is that what that is? People helping each other?
Yeah. So that's what's really happening here, that people are really helping each other as a totally, there's this whole culture of paying it forward and not respecting anything in return, etc. Because it will come around. Yeah. Again, it's also very Colonian in the end, because you have in Cologne we have a term called Klüngel, so it's basically vitamin B, like that. I know a guy that knows a guy, kind of a thing. This might be a good thing, might be a bad thing, but we certainly have it here, and that's really a culture, that is ingrained somehow in this area. Very friendly, very social, very life-loving people.
Yeah, that's why I stayed. Like when I came here, because I just thought, like, these people, they're all interested in me. British, Brexit, what's going on? Like, everyone wants to talk about it, but it was in a nice way. There was no, just good, friendly conversations. If I'm here on my own and in the evening I don't have a candidate to take for drinks or a business to me, and I go out on my own, someone will talk to me. And I'll have a nice conversation with someone, and then I'll go back to the hotel. Munich didn't happen. Berlin did, just not my scene. So Cologne is kind of just the perfect balance for me. But when I just want to ask you about something, the success factor of like people helping each other. Do you know if that same study looked at timing, like the timing of a study?
No, I'm not in the details of that of that study.
I was just curious. Yeah, that's all. So, can you tell me a bit more about Pirate? Because you guys do a lot for startups.
Yeah. So, you want the long story or the short story? How much time do you have? I mean,
we've got loads of time.
It's a longer story. Let's put it that way. So
let's have the long one.
The long one. Okay. Yeah. Let me do it like 10 minutes or so. Right. A little bit the Pirate story. All right. So, Pirate, essentially, that was the first, let's say, initiative came from Till, my co-founder, and he reached out to a couple people, entrepreneurs at the time. Hey, can you guys help me? I want to create this conference in the big city of Iserlohn, which you might not know, or most likely don't know. Nice. It's a fairly small city, a little bit northeast here.
Okay.
That's where his university was. So yeah, of course, let's do it there. And then we said, Colonian entrepreneurs, let's say, let's not do it there. Let's bring it to Cologne.
Yeah.
And why? Because nobody else was really doing good conferences back then. That was 2010. Just the conferences, they all sucked. They're just not the place we wanted to go to. And then we said, okay, let's do this. Never meant as a business, more meant like nobody else is doing it. Okay, let us do it. And then we essentially said, okay, we create this conference. Nobody had any idea about organizing a conference, and we approached the first date, and we didn't really know what we were doing, etc. And then we had this one student that we didn't ask because she knew how to run conferences, because she had done that and was more or less 3 weeks before actually the conference should happen, and she was just writing us an email with, I don't know, something like 20 questions. We still, it's a famous email, we still have it, and she said, okay, what's about ticket registration at the entrance? How do you do ticketing? What's about catering? Who's doing the catering? What's about wardrobe? Where is it? Stuff like that. And the answer was always, oh, we don't know.
Didn't think.
No idea. Oh, we have to think about that. No, we don't know. So it was really just like that. And she then basically saved our ass. But we got one thing right, I think, in the beginning, was that we told our friends that each of them should bring 5 friends that fit certain criteria, being founders or investors in startups.
Yeah.
And that worked out pretty well, because everybody was also looking for something cool. And then we had this outdoor venue. I don't know if you have seen pictures of the Pirate Summit.
Burning Man last year or this year.
Yeah, we have. We burn stuff. That's an old tradition from Cologne, because after Carnival, or the last day of Carnival, you burn the Nubbel, and all the sins are put onto the Nubbel, and you are free of all your sins. You'll be forgiven afterwards.
Okay.
And we basically do the same thing. So it's a little bit New Year's or like the Nobel whatever for entrepreneurship as we see it. So new resolutions, you leave the last thing behind. We burn everything, and then you go into the new year like energized and stuff like that. So that's the origin story of Pirate Summit. We did a couple of years because people asked that, okay, please do it again. Nobody earned any money. It was all volunteers. End of 2013, we then decided, Till and I, okay, either we're going to stop, or we're going to build some kind of like business around it, a shell around it, so it can survive, because we. Of course, with volunteers, you don't have really the commitment, and people leave from every year, so you lose know-how, stuff like that. So, and then we grew it over time into an event startup, basically, which is now an event agency. Till and I am not. It's called PIRATE.X, the event agency.
Yeah,
we are not longer operationally that deeply involved. We are doing a couple other things, which I'll talk about in a minute. And basically, Felix is now the managing director, and he's totally running the whole event part. In the meantime, we have not only Pirate Summit, which is like an early stage founder conference, very much focused around entrepreneurs. But we do other things, like we have during DMEXCO, which is the biggest digital marketing fair here, with 40,000 people or so. We have the biggest party with 4,000 people here, so a huge production. Also, we have a couple vertical conferences in the insurtech, so the insurance space, and the fintech, the banking payment space. And we do a couple other things, like for example, Startup Safari, which is like a global event for opening up the startup ecosystem. And it's run in various cities around the world. And it's very much, we have a lot of like event startup DNA. That's where we come from. That's where we're really good at. We're opening up a little bit more now to the digital scene, also with our Club, which is the party that I just said. It's more for the digital or the online marketing crowd. And we have this year started with a new event which we call Yak and Tech, which will be in 3 months or 4 months, which is always the Carnival event. So during Cologne Carnival, which of course all the Colonians know, and around Germany it's also very well known, but it's the second biggest in the world actually. Mm-hmm. So it's really huge. Have you been?
I always miss it, but I heard the city like literally doubles in size in terms of population. Like 1 million people live here, and a million more come here for it.
Probably also it's either you'll love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
But during Carnival, either you celebrate Carnival here in Cologne or you try to leave.
Yeah.
That's basically what you do. Most people love it. People are very proud of it.
Yeah.
It's a very local thing. It always brings people together.
Is it quite political?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of the floats.
Yeah. It's absolutely that's absolutely the core. That's also the historic core.
Yeah.
Right. That you basically also criticize the government, the local leaders, etc. But of course, for the people, it's about connecting. Mm-hmm. It's really about celebrating Colonian culture, and because there's also Kölsch, not only the beer but also the language. Cologne has a very strong language. Also, always bounds together, right? It's really helpful to form this kind of culture of belonging.
Yeah.
And because we have this here in Cologne, this also creates kind of this city pride. Like everybody has this this thing which is fairly unique, I believe.
Yeah.
So you have your own bands, your own beer, your own language, your own whatever, right? So a lot of traditions, your carnival, your things, and which make this place super unique. And I think most people only understand after having been here for a certain period of time how tight in the end that is.
Yeah.
I'm not from Cologne. I'm actually not that let's say influenced. So I leave during Carnival. I don't drink Kölsch. I don't speak Kölsch. Right? I'm not part of that.
It's like an
culture,
identity, isn't it?
Right, that identity really. But I very much like the people here, and I love the Dutch word would be gezellig, the having fun together, and being relaxed together and having a good time together kind of atmosphere.
This is why I just think there's so many factors in Cologne that make it a real good place to come and start a business and be an entrepreneur, that I'm just puzzled by why there isn't more of it. I mean, it's not like there's none of it. There is a good startup scene here, but it's just not.
The startup scene, to be frank, the startup scene is tiny compared to other places.
Yeah, that's what I don't get.
But the question is always, do you have to compare yourself to other places? Because then you always feel tiny. I think important is to look at where we came from. Yeah. So I'm in the startup scene since 2008, starting with my own startup, then doing also events on the side, then more events, stuff like that, investing in startups, etc. So I think it's really important, where do we come from? And if you look at it, I think we have seen quite a bit of growth. We are definitely lacking, if you look at the typical startup city, we're lacking the money in volumes to really invest. However, there are good arguments to say, hey, the money is there. It's not a problem about money, but it's actually a problem. There is not enough entrepreneurial talent. So if you explore that route, I would also say yes, it's also definitely true. I'm a mentor in the Founder Institute here, and I really love to just work with very early stage entrepreneurs to just experience. I love the journey of entrepreneurship. I don't that much am interested in the milestones. Let's say the exits, the funding rounds, whatever. But I love just the process of building something, of creating something from nothing, of building an organization, building a team, and I also love to see that in startups, to be just part of that journey. And if you look at if you look at those like Founder Institute, etc., they're doing a tremendous job in educating people, but how it's always a little bit shocking to me how uneducated people actually are. They don't really know what running a company or building a startup is about. They don't know about entrepreneurship, etc. And they don't learn it in the university. And there's also a good argument to be made that entrepreneurship cannot be taught in the university. I totally think,
but it can be stimulated, surely.
Yes, and that would especially also be my point. You can stimulate that, absolutely. You can bring in people, role models, if you will, so successful entrepreneurs to tell their story, and I think that would get more people interested, and we are very interested in that space actually to bring more people into entrepreneurship, knowing that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Totally knowing that, right? You need some kind of special DNA to really go that route. But with Startup Safari, for example, which we have in 2 weeks from now, so end of October, we actually do exactly that. We want to demystify entrepreneurship and startup, and basically just have an open door event and just bring in, especially from the universities, bring in young people to get inspired and hopefully then also decide to found something. And I think that is if you want to build a city, talking about ecosystems, Cologne as a startup ecosystem, if you want to build a city, you have to build it around entrepreneurs. Yeah. Right? You have to build it. If you don't have the people that are actually willing to take the leap, right, to really like cancel their old job and just start something and take all the risk, then you really that's where you have to start, right? If you don't have them, you can have so many consultants, mentors, whatever. Who are you going to mentor? You can have a lot of money. Who are you going to put the money into? Right? It's all about the entrepreneurs. That's what we need. So we need the education part, and we need the early help, and that at some point that will multiply.
Yeah, it'll grow.
So and we are not. For me, that's still too slow. The process of really, getting the word out of entrepreneurship, and that's the whole Pirate Summit. Why did we do that? Because we wanted to basically promote and grow entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset. That's the whole mission of the whole pirate idea. That's why we do what we do. Because why do we do that? Because we think progress is best done, or entrepreneurs are a big driver of progress, right? Because they change, they push the boundaries, etc. So we totally believe in entrepreneurship. So that's a very fundamental core belief that we have. And if I can convince you more to do what you do, and maybe you can convince five others, I think that we'll have a bright future. Not the single person, but as a society,
collective. That's what I think. In 10 or 15 years, there's such opportunity here because of things that you can't just change, like geographical location, like and attitudes and culture. The foundations are very healthy. There's just, I'm puzzled by why there's not more of it at the moment. I think
we need more. It might need more. It needs to become a little bit more uncomfortable. For more people to consider alternatives.
Yeah.
If things are comfortable, there are a lot of corporates here. You can work for whoever. Yeah. They pay good salaries. Everything is fine.
Why would you go through the pain?
Right. Yeah. Why would you? And I think, and a lot of people that work in corporates, they all have their side projects. Talking about developers, they're all working on some open source stuff. And here, and I have this little app or this little application. That's all what that's totally there, but they don't find it necessary, or just don't take the step to build up their own company, service, whatever.
Yeah, it's just, you wouldn't, would you? If you're corporate and you've got a good salary, you've got a comfortable life, good family, it's such a tremendous pain to go through idea to, a real business that you just wouldn't, unless you've got a unique sense of drive and motivation or lack of purpose or whatever. But that's so rare. So,
but the main problem also is if you have. I think we need to get more people from university directly into startups, because then that's also one of the best educators, to be honest, to experience the startup spirit, etc. And then to get that fire going of, independence, autonomy, whatever what entrepreneurship brings, they will totally experience that in many startups at least. And I think that, and you see that in Berlin as well, you have this, their trickle-down works. You have this trickle-down effects in the end where people that have been into big startups or the rocket world, whatever, they're starting their own startups. And that's something which is yet too slow here, and I totally believe that we all, as a startup community, we need to give young people a chance before they jump into the corporate world. Yeah. Because once you're into the corporate world, 2, 3, 4 years, not a problem, right? But as soon as you start to be close to having a family, then to jump back into the startup world is just. Because the whole risk profile changes with family. I have 2 kids. Then it's really hard to then take that leap to then really build your own business, because at least most of the journeys, the initial years are always tough. Are always super tough.
I wonder if Cologne is lacking good ideas, or if the bigger places, we could use Berlin as an example, is, and this will piss people off, is just good at, like they were 10 years ago, just copying ideas. So that then stimulated a whole startup scene, because they were just looking at what was happening in the US and thinking, yeah, we'll do that in here first. And so that just accelerates everything that could go on.
Do you know what we burned at the first Pirate Summit?
No.
The copycat guy.
Oh, really?
That's what we burned. So we burned because we were the counter example, or we wanted to be, of we just copy and then execute better. Yeah. And there's basically nothing wrong with doing that, like once or twice, but like in a whole industry, just copying just feels very uncreative and dull somehow.
It just doesn't sit.
So
right.
I'm totally fine with copying from others and taking good things and making them your own, etc. I also think what happened back then, really good execution, stuff like that, is very helpful and healthy, and also pushes things forward. But I think, especially we as here in Cologne, we don't need to copy. We can also create our own stuff. And I don't think it's a lack of ideas. I also don't think it's the lack of execution once you have decided to do the idea. I think it's 2 things. It's really the risk, like it's not uncomfortable enough, or you just what are the alternatives? You have, or it's actually the alternatives. It's education, right? Really, you have to spark that longing, I don't know if that's a real word, for going out there on this adventure, like the pirate wants to go out on the sea, right? For this adventure. And the third thing is, so what was that? I think lack of education, right? So that's the 3 things, and that's it. Yeah, the alternatives are there. Education.
I wonder how that will change. Well, just education, I guess. That was how you will change it. By getting people younger, getting people earlier.
Well, I want to inspire people as well, right? All the events that we do, we want to showcase, hey, this is what it's like, and it's a little bit more unsexy than maybe you thought, but it's also a little bit more real than maybe you thought, right? And it's fulfilling. I mean, ask around, especially here in Cologne, why the people are doing that. I mean, most people are not doing it for the money. it might always be a byproduct that you will get super rich,
Yeah.
but getting super rich and famous is not something that, at least here in Cologne, is part of the culture, and it's also not cool. And it's also, I think, it's not necessary. I think what is cool or necessary is are you proud of the company? If you build something valuable, do you have happy customers? Do you have employees that are fulfilled and are doing something meaningful? I think that's much more important on the long term, especially for a region, than just having greedy people that are just in it for the money.
Yeah.
So.
How do you feel about attracting people internationally who would come here and start up instead of their hometowns? Because we have a lot, well, my colleagues see a lot of that in Berlin. People that have come from other countries, they come and they work in a startup because they know they want to found a startup, so they kind of cut their teeth in Berlin for a few years, and then they're like, right, well, I'm going to go and do my own thing now. So there's loads of foreign nationals that are coming to us and say, oh, we just started up, we need help hiring. And when we get to know them better, they're from all over the place, Istanbul, France, London, all over.
Yeah.
I wonder if Cologne could see more of that, or if that would actually not be Absolutely. A good thing long term.
I think it would be super, super good. I mean, I'm totally for bring great talent here, and diversity, I think, is helpful in that sense. I just think we are just not that sexy, probably. So we have a little bit of a disadvantage, and I'm not sure how we can really change that, and I'm not sure if we have to actively change, or what we could actively do. I think we have to change. Yes, I think it would be good if we would have that, but I'm not quite sure that you can really, or how can you stimulate that except for just having some really good role models here, which have done so, and just putting Cologne on the international startup map. And that's also what we do with Pirate Summit. Totally. Yeah. We try not to market in Cologne, definitely not, because we are out there. People know us. But even in Germany, we try actually to bring more people from abroad in, because that for us is really important, to have this international footprint, and also to show the world that we are also doing something with startups here, and we are quite unique, that people remember.
Well, we looked at some data about what talent was coming to Cologne, and that it must have been 90% was coming from inside of Germany. Mm-hmm. Very few people relocating outside of Germany to fill the roles that the startup scene needed. Yep. So I was wondering if that is if that's something that's just not pursued by startups here, if they're kind of missing out on reaching out internationally, or if it's just not in their interest, whether Cologne wanted or just naturally.
Cologne definitely wants that. It would be really helpful if that would happen, if we would get more entrepreneurial talent from abroad. Diversity would really, really help. I think there is one dimension Cologne startups are not thinking big enough. Yeah. I think that is a valid critique.
Is that through a lack of ambition, or is that just through culture? The people here just don't think Jeff Bezos size, for example.
I'm not sure everybody needs to think like Jeff Bezos, but I think to be the best in your small niche, and not only in Cologne or North Rhine-Westphalia or whatever, right? But also just say, okay, I'm going to be the best in Europe. This kind of ambition is a little bit lacking, and I'm not talking about unicorns and building empires and stuff like that. I'm just talking, why not? Let's build something meaningful in our niche across countries, etc. And it might also be that certain problems are solved here in the healthcare sector, etc., which are very regional or national. That might be the case, but many things could be thought bigger. And what Berlin has, but that is driven by VC economics behind it, and in that sense, VC economics, I think, make a lot of sense, because they request growth, and growth is often then going international, and I think we could see more of that in Cologne, definitely. So it's not a cultural thing. It's not by, I don't know, it's not by design or so. It's just something that people are happy with what they have, maybe, or just say, let's take small steps. It's also, Cologne is a little bit too humble. I think that is something. Cologne is, you have these people that are very patriotic about the city, but if they talk about like achievements or what they do, etc., they're actually, I would say, they're underselling, or they're not really good at selling. In Berlin, and especially in the US, etc., people sell first and then build the product. In Germany, it's more you build the product and then try to sell it. Berlin has a little bit of both, because you have a lot of pressure on, right, do the market part, do the selling part. And in Cologne, it's you have very good engineering work, you have very good products, but a lack of how to really bring that to the customer in a engaging or it's often undersold.
I've heard that. I've heard there's a few companies here that are like 300 or 400 people strong, but internationally no one would have ever heard of them. They're just unknown. But when you said like regional problems or regional industries here, is that bleeding into the startup scene? Like, are you seeing that actually Cologne is producing more, I don't know, insurance tech startups or med tech, or is there quite an even spread?
Well, the one thing is the narrative. The other thing is what's actually happening. And I think the narrative is, Cologne would love to be, but is insurance hub, right? The narrative is medtech. We're going to be really strong in medtech, or we are really strong in medtech. The reality is a little bit different if you look at the number of startups in each space. But if you look at the number of startups in each space compared to the rest of the startups, that's probably true, right? So that Berlin has more insurtech startups, I think it's logical, because they have also a lot more startups in general. I think it's not quite clear yet what the main focus will be for Cologne. It's most certainly it will be B2B. Only very little B2C startups. So
I can't think of any, apart from like Picanova, Trivago. I struggle to think of any B2C startups.
You just named two, but that's, I would also consider them more outliers, and those B2C startups, I would also think that those have moved to Berlin or so. But I'm also personally, I'm very interested in B2B, and it also makes a lot of sense to put B2B startups here, because you have businesses around that are potential customers. So it makes a lot of sense. If you go to Berlin, you have a lot less. You can sell to government, you can sell to a couple corporates, but and to whatever lobby organizations, other organizations that go there, and to corporate labs. But the real corporates are actually sitting somewhere else. And here you certainly have, not only from like, if you look at not only Cologne but the larger region, you have a lot of region, a lot of very strong businesses.
That might be where it goes then. We've been kind of thinking what could it be? I can't pick what the future might look like. We're kind of finding all these good things about Cologne, like the infrastructure and the geography, but where does that go? But that whole B2B startup thing makes sense. That really plays in very well to the natural foundations of the startup scene in Cologne.
I also think it fits well to the DNA, because marketing, as I said, is not the strongest part, skill here. And you market, or you B2B, selling B2B is different than B2C. And that's where people, it's a lot about relationship building, etc. If you go into enterprise sales now, and that's where people are really good at here, right? They know how to do that stuff, and they're really good at engineering. And that's also corporates. They want a good product that, in the end, that really works.
Well, I'm surprised at the marketing stuff, because I always thought Cologne and Düsseldorf were like media city. And when I first started working here, all of my clients were agencies for marketing and web. So,
but who do they cater to? Who are the clients?
Other businesses, really. They were not.
but corporates basically, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the startups themselves, B2C, not that much. And it's just, I'm also not saying that people are bad at it, right? You certainly have good marketing people, but they wouldn't just be working in startups probably.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm a little bit overgeneralizing, but so no hard feelings to whoever considers themselves a great marketeer in a startup, right?
Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere. We're kind of using all these conversations where we go out and speak to people to draw some hypotheses and hypotheses. You know the word. And then kind of just explore what's going on underneath the surface. And that could be something for us to talk to some other people about, see if they agree or what. So, cool topic to take from there. If you were talking to someone who, I know we've already talked about it, but if there was a guy who was like, I'm thinking of coming to Cologne, but I'm not sure, like, how would you convince them that this is the place to be?
Honestly, I'm very honest about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to convince anyone to really come here. If I have not understood what their expectations are and what they're actually looking for. So that's the most important thing. If they would tell me, hey, I like to work in a unicorn, and I like to get phantom stock and be really rich, and that kind of thing, then Cologne is probably not your thing. But if you want to work on hard problems in a cool city, in cool companies that are just really trying to build real businesses, then you're totally welcome here. And it's also not that you have to commute an hour to work usually if you live in or near the city, but that distances are still fairly small. But you have the feeling it feels like a village maybe if you come from Berlin here, but you still have the feeling of this is a real city, right? You still have this kind of city feel, without being overcrowded or like the bad stuff of cities necessarily. Yeah. So I think it's a very good place to live, especially if you have kids and family. I've had many points in my life where I had the option to go to Berlin, where I considered to go there, and I love Berlin. I'm totally I go there frequently, but I'm not. I always hesitated because I didn't want to go with my kids. Yeah. Because it didn't feel the right place for my family to be. Yeah. So I would be very honest about that. I would be very honest. What is your point in your life? Do you want to party every night? You can do that here as well, but Berlin is certainly better. Yeah. Are you looking for like a very interesting art and music scene? Might also be that Berlin is better. If you wanna be with very nice people, I think Cologne is better. Like friendly people. If you wanna helpful people. Just have a certain quality of life. I think it's better here. Yeah, but it really. I'm not trying to convince anyone to come. I would explain what this city is like. And if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to work in a startup scene that helps each other out and that is very tight and very connected, this is certainly the place to be. If you want to be in a startup scene that's very competitive and that also pushes you to your limits, Berlin is better.
I think that's a good spot to end on,